St. Louis Blues beat the stuffing out of the Canucks on Thanksgiving. There's plenty to digest, and we're going to do that now on Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios in downtown Vancouver on this Thanksgiving Monday. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'm Jeff Patterson. He's Irfan Ghaffar, and we have plenty to discuss as the Canucks stumble in a 5-2 loss to the St. Louis Blues after the opening night victory over Calgary. It's now back-to-back losses for the Canucks. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. And I also should mention that Rink Wide brought to you in part by Bet365. All right, they weren't good enough against the Oilers the other night. We knew that. This was a bounce-back game. It's early in the season, obviously, but still, this is a team in St. Louis that the Canucks were battling with last year. This is a team that I think a lot of people think the Canucks should sort of keep the company of as this season unfolds, but the Blues made no mistake. They were the better hockey club. From the outset here, I thought their speed was evident. The Canucks struggled. Their top of the lineup obviously had more issues. Bottom of the lineup, there's some real concerns there as well. And ultimately, just not nearly enough from the home team in a 5-2 loss.
The Canucks have played 120 minutes of hockey in the last two games, Jeff. The only player to score a goal plays on their wing on the fourth line. And I know we're going to get into it a lot, and Kiefer Sherwood does a lot for this team, but there needs to be a lot more to take in if you're the Vancouver Canucks, and especially on the offensive end.
Yeah, look, we're going to talk about Elias Pettersson just because we do, the forward. But he had plenty of company here. Like, it's not just him. This team, the captain, Quinn Hughes, isn't in high gear yet. Other guys that play high in the lineup and are paid to produce. Outside of Brock Besser, who had 2 goals in the first 2 games, he was held off the score sheet here. Really, it was a Kiefer Sherwood show for the Vancouver Canucks perspective, and he has been terrific, and he was last year as well, and this is a contract year for him. He's off to a nice start, and he was rolling the breakaway goal. The shorty was a thing of beauty as he deked Jordan Binnington, and that got the Canucks right back in a hockey game that looked like maybe it was going to get away from them. That made it 3-2, but that's as close as the Canucks would get. The Blues tacked one on late in the second period, made it 4-2, and then the empty netter rounded out the scoring. So as you look at the night and the way it went for the Canucks, they fell behind midway through the first period. Elias Pettersson with just a weak play on the puck. There's no other way to describe it. Coughs it up deep in St. Louis territory. That allows the Blues to go back the other way. And as we look at it, you see the turnover there. Now, I want to be perfectly clear that the turnover is one thing, and you expect more from Elias Pettersson. But there were 3 guys back. It was a 4-on-3, so the Canucks had numbers. Mm-hmm. I can't pin it all on Petey. He starts the transition, unfortunately, but then it was just shoddy defending. They didn't score off the rush. The Blues get a shot on goal. They attack the puck. They keep it alive, work it around, and ultimately it was Jimmy Snuggerud that distances himself from Marcus Pettersson and was able to pounce on a rebound there. And so St. Louis gets off to the start it's looking for on the road. They had a good third period in Calgary the other day to get their first win of the season, and then they get the lead. And that's the way it stayed after one period of play. So it wasn't a great period for the home team. They were outshot 12-8, but 1-0. Lots of hockey left. You're not out of the game. You certainly can't have that mindset of here we go again. But then the second period. And
the wheel started to fall off a little bit.
I mean, Braden Shen makes it 2-0, his first goal of the season. Puck basically on a tee. Now, a heck of a pass by Philip Broberg onto the stick of Jordan Kyrou. Mm-hmm. Quinn Hughes defending there, and then Drew O'Connor coming back, tries to break up the pass. Instead, basically, as I said, puts it on a tee for Braden Shen. He makes no mistake there. And, it's 2-0. And, again, with all these questions swirling about Canucks offense and who's going to generate offense for this hockey club at 2-0. There's lots of time left, but that's when the questions start to come about, is there a comeback in the offing? Does this team have the component parts to generate the offense needed? And, look, opening night was fun. That was the Flames on back-to-back. struggled the other night in Edmonton and ultimately struggled here. And outside of Kiefer Sherwood, just not nearly enough guys going in the right direction when they had the puck on their stick.
No, and it's tough because you mentioned Elias Pettersson off the top and the turnover, but it was also the back check wasn't really there. You mentioned they had 3 guys back. It ended up being an odd man rush, yes, but I didn't like the back check either from Elias Pettersson on that one. The second period is where the wheels really started to fall off for that team, and I think that Sherwood does get the Canucks back into the game, but I can sit here and say I'm not entirely sure that this team has the skill to go chance for chance with a good team. I just don't think that if that's their idea and their identity and the way they want to play, a team that plays on the rush, a team that generates chances, a team that can go against anybody, sure, you can do it against the Calgary Flames. You're not going to do it against the Edmonton Oilers. Sure as hell didn't do it against the St. Louis Blues in this hockey game. You got Dallas coming up here pretty quick. Like, what is the style of game you want to play? Because your offensive guys aren't that of equal to offensive guys on other really good hockey teams.
Right, and that's why I don't want to overstate it because it's game 3 of the season.
No, it's game 3, but still, they're signs.
This road trip starts in Dallas. Stars have designs on winning the Stanley Cup. Like, they're in that upper echelon of the Western Conference. When all is said and done this year, I think we all expect that Dallas is going to be one of those teams that is in the mix. And so that's the start of the road trip that begins with back-to-back games, 3 in 3.5 days, essentially, because the game in Washington on Sunday is an early start. So the Canucks opened the schedule with 2 of 3 at home. You wanted to believe that they could find a way to grind out a couple of wins here, feel good about themselves heading out on the road. Now there's all these questions swirling, and we're only 3 games into this season. So it's on them. Nobody's going to feel sorry for them around the National Hockey League. It's on them to sort some things out here and just get better performances from a lot of guys and the guys that you expect to deliver. Yeah, we say this on every show here on Rink Wide. Hit us up with a super chat if you've got a thought, a comment, a question about this hockey club and what you've seen so far and where it goes from here. Super Chat charity partner is the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. And the Maniac coming with a super chat right off the bat here. I really try not to complain about EP40, and then it says WTF. And you and I were saying, like, we may have to put some limits on just how much we devote to Elias Pettersson, because yes, he is an issue, and this was another night where he wasn't anywhere close to the best player on the ice, but he's not alone. There are others here, and so want to make sure that we try to balance it out, and that's not to excuse Elias Pettersson. 15 minutes and 36 seconds of ice time, 1 shot on goal. All this talk about ramping up his shot, putting on the weight, being more effective when he had the puck on his stick, being willing to pull the trigger when he had when he was in shooting positions, and he comes out of a night like tonight with just a single shot on goal. So that's not good enough. No points, obviously. He's got 1 assist now through 3 games. That came in the third period, garbage time essentially the other night against Calgary, but no points the other night in Edmonton, and nothing doing here in this one either. So it's 3 games. It's not 30 games, but
if we're having the same conversation at 30 games,
oh my, oof,
then there are going to be some long rink wides, and the chat is going to be nasty.
Yeah.
But look, like you said, so maybe let's run through their top 6 a little bit. Brock Besser, -2, had 1 shot on net. I mean, Connor Garland had 5. Mm-hmm. He had a great scoring chance there in the third period.
Right, late in the power play.
Yeah, yep. And then you take a look at Evander Kane. Obviously, he -2, 3 shots on net, had 3 hits. Didn't really make his presence felt like I think he did a little bit in Edmonton. Noticed him more there, obviously, for the hit late in the game, but didn't see that much from him. And then Jonathan Leermackey, right? -1, 1 missed shot.
Yeah, we'll talk about the kids a fair bit later here in the program, but I do think you really have to start sort of putting the blame, if we're going to play the blame game, and it's, again, early in the season, but at the feet of the guys that you expect to be better. Mm-hmm. And Elias Pettersson hasn't been good enough. Quinn Hughes has 1 point through 3 games. Now, they only had 1 power play tonight, but they didn't do much to draw a power play. Drew O'Connor, finally, with a little bit of speed, was hauled down by Dylan Holloway in the third period. That was the Canucks' only power play, but they're still looking for the first power play goal of the season, 3 games in. They gave up a power play goal. And when we kind of went through the scoring, we didn't get to Snuggerud's second of the night. But Tyler Myers, prone to sort of the loud mistakes. He's done a better job in the last couple of seasons eliminating that from his game. But on the penalty kill, takes the puck behind the net and basically just runs into Pavel Buchnevich, who forces a turnover out in front, and there's Snuggerud. No mistake, gets his second of the night, and that one turned out to be the game winner. That put St. Louis up 3-1. Again, the Canucks would cut into it with a shorthanded goal. But again, this team's struggling to generate offense. It can't have those grenades go off in their hands the way that Myers did behind the net when he's killing a penalty, and the penalty kill had been terrific to that point, but they weren't going to kill them off all season long, so St. Louis is the team that busts through, and Blues go 1 for 3 with the power play. The Canucks 0 for their only opportunity with the man advantage in this hockey game.
Filipino on the power play for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, now I understand it's only 3 games, but Adam Foote's clearly seen a lot of the same things that the fans are, that we are, looking for a spark somewhere. So at one point he flipped Elias Pettersson and Filip Chytil, and Chytil was between Besser and DeBrusk.
Yeah.
Is that a promotion? Is it? It's hard to know at this stage right now because just not enough guys are going. But yeah, we wondered, was Evander Kane long for this world on the first unit of the Vancouver Canucks power play? The answer was no, because we saw just the one power play, but when they rolled their first unit out there, Filip Chytil getting an opportunity instead of Evander Kane. Of course, Connor Garland at some point may find himself there. He did last year. We've been banging the drum for Leermackey, who's been awfully quiet. And again, I want to sort of keep the young guys and the veterans separately, and we'll devote plenty of time to the night for Leermackey and Braden Coots as well, because there's a lot to unpack there. But I don't have a problem. Look, not enough guys were going in this hockey game, so why not put Filip Chytil on that first unit and see what it looks like at the very least?
Yeah, no, I agree. They need a different look. And you mentioned the promotion and demotion. I don't think that there can be either in that top 6 group when there isn't one definitive top line. Right? When you're going, you're just trying to look for anything to get your team going and get the offense going in the 6 players that you choose to try and run that offense. But again, it's Filip Chytil. He's a left-hand shot playing on the other side again. There's a guy that's sitting on the bench. I'm going to sit here again. I know we're going to devote time to him, but should be up there. There's a spark. There's a young kid. Puck off his stick very fast. I know they only had the one opportunity, and that's not the reason why they lost this hockey game. But if you're looking for sparks or things to change a little bit, you got to give that number 23, the kid, a shot, because he literally has one of the best shots and is not afraid to use it.
I'm going to get to our 3 stars here in a sec. But a couple of super chats coming in. Appreciate those. Keep them coming. This one from Free Petey says, EP set up a tap-in for 74 at the side of the net, who can't connect, then sets up a breakaway for 91, Kane, who misses the pass. So I think the point there is that he was trying to make some things happen. Ultimately, it's a bottom-line game. And for $11.6 million, it's hard to sit here and get fired up for a pass to the inside that DeBrusk doesn't capitalize on, or a pass that gets away from Evander Kane. Sure, maybe the point is that he was trying and that there was some effort there. Just need more. Need more from him, need more from basically all of them. I think on this night you put Kiefer Sherwood in a category of his own, and then the rest of them fair and open to criticism. Another super chat, this one from Justice16. Team just seems to lack urgency, and we do a lot of standing around and watching. Really need to be hard on pucks, and just aren't. And I think absolutely there's a fair bit of truth to what Justice16 had to say there.
There's a lot of reacting,
and
I think that's not the name of the game if you're the Vancouver Canucks. You need to be assertive. You need to try and drive play. You need to try and get pucks on net. It sounds stupid and cliche, and everyone will say it. It's the little things that they're not doing right. And you mentioned the pass, and people can't be getting excited about Elias Pettersson passing to Evander Kane and Evander Kane missing the puck. It needs to be driven from the moment the puck drops. They need to assert their dominance on a hockey game, and right now they just haven't. Especially in these last 2 games, they've played maybe one good period of hockey here in the last 6, and that was it. And I don't think you can build on that. You need to put a consistent effort in, and it starts with practice, obviously, and then getting it and trying to implement it in games. It's not going to get easier. They won games in the preseason. You beat the Calgary Flames, but this is the National Hockey League. You want to test yourself and think you're a playoff team or wild card team, you're going to go up against the best. And I've said it the last few nights, because they've played against the best hockey teams. And they just aren't it right now. And you hope it's going to come. I think that, the offense is going to find itself, but it sure as hell better happen way quicker than later.
Yeah, I mean...
Otherwise, you play yourself out of it. By the American Thanksgiving, we can be sitting here and having a very different conversation. That's the conversation we're not going to want to have.
They're 1-2 at the Canadian Thanksgiving. Yeah. Let's see where they are at the U.S. Thanksgiving, which is basically 6 weeks from now. All right, let's get to the 3 stars. The 3 stars are a presentation of Greta Bar YVR. The 3 stars in the building were Jimmy Snuggerud, Kiefer Sherwood, and Braden Shannon. Wouldn't you know it, here on Rink Wide as well. The 3 stars, Jimmy Snuggerud, Kiefer Sherwood, and Braden Shen. Doesn't always happen that way, but does tonight. First 2 stars both had 2 goals. Snuggerud had the winner as well. He had 6 shots on goal. He's an exciting rookie, and I think a lot of people at the outset of the season thought Demidov in Montreal, heavy favorite to be Rookie of the Year, but Jimmy Snuggerud has more nights like tonight, may be able to play his way into the conversation. And with Braden Shen, you know what you get. Just a good, solid, honest player that still has it and is able to make things happen. And when the puck was on his stick there, it wasn't there long in the early stages of the second period, found the back of the net. And so Shen with a goal and an assist. There are your 3 stars, the representation of Greta Bar, which was the site of our first Canucks Army watch party of the season on Saturday. You and I were down there for the hour or so leading up to puck drop, and it was starting to fill up, and it was great to see so many rink-wide viewers and listeners and Canucks Army readers. I had the smash burger, which was terrific as always. Saw others enjoying the terrific street food menu. They got the drink specials, all the arcade games. They were busy. I had to dodge flying pucks from the air hockey. Keep the puck in play, people. But Greta Bar, it's the place to be, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar let the games begin. But it was fun. It was good. I mean, obviously, it wasn't a ton to get excited about from a Canucks perspective with just the 1 goal there the other night, but people saw Quinn Hughes set the franchise record for points by a defenseman, and it seemed like a pretty good atmosphere. Unfortunately, you and I had to get here to the studio to be professionals, do our job, watch the hockey game in peace and quiet.
Yeah, it's always nice to see and talk to listeners of this show, and you guys interact with the show, and the ones that make this show obviously possible each and every night. So thank you for that. And, looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, and there are plans for another one. Not quite yet, but when we get down to details and get dates and things sorted out, certainly we will let you know. When I look through the Canucks scoring plays, and both goals came off the stick of Kiefer Sherwood, again, this sort of underscores the issues with the Canucks in the here and now. Outside of that third period scoring burst against the Flames on opening night, Kiefer Sherwood is the only Canuck player to score a first or second period goal 3 games into the season. So that has to change. They didn't have the puck much in Edmonton the other night. Fell behind there. 2-0 here tonight. Again, down 2-0. So, is it as easy as saying, oh, here we go again with bad starts? Or is it just that the starts are sort of symptomatic of the rest of the game as well? They showed some push. I think early in the third period in Edmonton the other night when Besser scored in the first minute, for about 5 minutes there, they looked threatening, and I thought, okay, even though they're kind of being outplayed badly, maybe against the run of play they're going to get the tying goal. Even though they got it back to 3-2 when Sherwood scored a shorthanded goal, I don't know. I didn't feel a comeback in the offing in this hockey game for the Vancouver Canucks.
Not against this St. Louis team. You mentioned Braden Shen, obviously one of our stars. That guy's tough as nails to play against.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays the game physical and fast and as hard as anybody. May not be the most skilled player on that team, the captain on that team, hard on his sleeve every single shift that he goes out there. And yeah, just the way the Blues were playing. They were hard on pucks. Forecheck was good. They shot a hell of a lot. And they just made life miserable for the Canucks defense on the forecheck. And obviously, they pinch a lot on their blue lines. Their forwards have to watch in the defensive zone as well. I just didn't think that there was going to be a comeback either at all in this hockey game.
And this is a night, too, where Robert Thomas is held off the score sheet. Yeah. Like, he's their best player. But they've got some firepower between Kyrou and we mentioned Shannon Snuggerud now and Bushnevich. They've got some offense here. This is going to be an interesting team to watch. Jim Montgomery, they made the coaching change last year. They had the real push down the stretch and got into the playoffs. So we'll see. And look, Jordan Binnington wasn't tested all that much by the Canucks. 31 shots for Vancouver. Canucks give up 35 for the second straight game, so that's going to be something to monitor as well. This is supposed to be one of the strengths of this hockey club is defensively, but if the forwards don't have the puck and they're not possessing it in the offensive zone, then the defense is going to find itself under siege and under pressure. We'll talk about Kevin Lankinen and his first start of the season as well. Underlying numbers not particularly kind to the Canucks. Blues controlled 54% of all shot attempts at 5-on-5. The scoring chances, 27-22, favored the St. Louis Blues. The high dangers, 15-9 in St. Louis's favor. So again, Canucks were chasing this hockey game just as they were the other night in Edmonton. I want to get to the stat that stands out because this is going to turn the conversation now to a couple of the younger players for the Vancouver Canucks. And the stat that stands out is delivered by Uber Eats. And Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app where they can get anything, almost anything, truly, from game day eats to paper plates and napkins. If you are hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, or after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Uber Eats, hashtag crave the stats. And the stat that stands out here is not a pretty one. And I think it leads to a much deeper, broader conversation. But the Canucks were outshot 10-1 when rookie Braden Coots was on the ice in this game. It goes beyond that, though. Those are the shots, the actual 5-on-5 shots. The shot attempts when Braden Coots was on the ice, 23-3 in favor of the St. Louis Blues. So he's not ready for prime time. This is not an indictment on the person or the player. He's 18 years of age. We all knew that this was going to be an uphill battle. He had a terrific camp and preseason. He remains a good news story for the Vancouver Canucks. Hear me when I say that, but I have to think that this audition is rapidly coming to an end.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are in Seattle on Wednesday, and I think that Braden Coots is going to find himself down there at some point here in the near future, maybe. We don't know what obviously the plan is, but here's the thing. You mentioned the underlying numbers, obviously, and him not maybe looking the part yet. He's a center iceman on this team, played 10:34 tonight. He took one faceoff. Like, if you're really protecting him at home that much, is he best served sitting on the bench?
Right.
And for his development, it's cool to be in the NHL. Don't get me wrong. Earn the opportunity. I will give him all his flowers. He should have been on this team when at the end of training camp. Few games in now, things get a little bit different. And it starts to change. Players start to play for keeps. Games get tougher. This isn't an indictment on him at all, but there might be a time to put in a Linus Karlsson into the lineup. I think he can just give you a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, I understood the sheltering and the fact they were down and trailing, trying to mount a comeback in Edmonton the other night against McDavid and Draisaitl. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. The Blues, now they're deep. I mean, we haven't even talked about Pius Suter and his return, but they're Robert Thomas, Braden Shen, Pius Suter deep down the middle, and the Canucks just couldn't find matchups for this kid. And playing 10 minutes a night in the NHL and not playing much in the third period because you're down, that's not helping his development. So, to your point, I know Linus Karlsson is a winger now in this organization, was down in Abbotsford, and has been through training camp. I still think Linus Karlsson could give you the 10 minutes that Braden Coots did at center ice. If Teddy Bluger's not healthy enough to get back and get into the lineup here, and we'll wait to see at practice. Sunday was a day off. They didn't have a morning skate because of the wonky 4:30 start time. I'm curious to see if Teddy Bluger is, we were told a week. It's basically been a week now. Is he back at practice? If not, that complicates matters. But in the same breath, like, Max Sasson has scored in both games for Abbotsford, got the winner in overtime. They won both games. You know that he's down there wanting to prove that he belongs up here. And I wonder, even in a pinch, if you send Coots back to junior, could you slide Max Sasson into the lineup until Teddy Bluger is healthy? Whatever the case. And it's not a knock on Braden Coots. He's going to remain their best prospect. They've got an 18-year-old that's playing NHL games. That's cool, but he's not ready to hold his own at the NHL, and those crooked numbers tonight. And it wasn't just him. I want to be clear about that, too. His line with Drew O'Connor and Jonathan Leermackey, like, they all got caved in. And so did Victor Mancini. It wasn't a banner night, I didn't think, for him getting his first game action of the season, although he was out there when they had the goalie pulled, which a little surprising to me, but whatever. They rolled Mancini out in the late stages, gave up the empty netter to Jake Neighbors, and that sealed the deal. 5-2 was the final score. But just on Coots, as you mentioned, the final numbers, 10 minutes and 34 seconds of ice time, no shot attempts for a second straight game for him. And so, not having the puck much in the offensive zone, when he has it on his stick, it looks like he's deferring and trying to, and I guess I understand that part of it too. I think we all thought he would have to prove all the doubters wrong that he was, as an 18-year-old, ready to play in the National Hockey League. So, again, this isn't a black mark on him. Like, take this experience back to junior and let's see what he looks like in the Western Hockey League.
Go play World Juniors.
And all of that kind of stuff. So, we're not saying, like, it hasn't happened yet, but, boy, the evidence supports that it has to happen sooner rather than later. As for Leermackey, the numbers were fairly similar. Played a little bit more because he got out a little bit of power play time. He was out late in the hockey game as well. 11 minutes and 30 seconds, though, so still not a ton of ice time. No shots on goal for, one time. Where's Johnny Electric Mackey from late in the preseason and opening night? He's got to shoot the puck when he gets his opportunities. But as we said, when they were crushed in possession the way that they were, he just didn't have an opportunity to shoot the puck. So pretty quiet night across the board outside of Kiefer Sherwood, whether it's the guys that are at the high end of the pay scale, guys down at the bottom of the depth chart, whatever. There just wasn't enough from any of those guys. So as a result, not a surprise that this thing was a 5-2 victory for the St. Louis Blues.
So when I ask you, we usually do the what you like, what you didn't like. Would offense be what you didn't like in this hockey game, or was there something a little bit more? I didn't like the start, and it's because of the last three. And going back to last season when I asked you this question, the start was answered probably 50% of the time.
It happened too often last season.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And so I don't want this to be a thing for this group. New coaching staff, turned the page from last year, but so far there have been a lot of things that remind us of what happened last year, and one of those is, and again, look, they won an opening night at home. People had their fun then. They're 1-1. Ridiculously small sample size. But their home ice record has to be better this year. If they want to be a playoff team, I think the patience of the paying customer was tested with just 17 home ice wins last year in 41 games. So, again, they're not going to run the table. They weren't going to win them all. But when 6 of your first 8 games are out on the road, it puts a premium on the home games to try to get some results to, insulate you early on, get the good feelings going. Because preseason was all about vibes. That feels like a decade ago now. If we're doing a vibe check around this team and in the fan base, it changes in a hurry.
Yeah, a lot of Shiders were at that game. Vibes were probably not that high at Rogers Arena. And look, I'm a vibes guy.
I know you are.
I know.
Nice hat, by the way.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I think there's one behind you as well. But look, I think that David Quadrelli is as well. And just talking to some people in and around the team, people asking questions from around the league, other players, what's going on there? Things are good. The revenge tour isn't really that much of a revenge tour right now, nor is, the high vibes of preseason. We get lost in it when things start to play for keeps.
A couple more super chats. Love that. So Justice16 with another one says secondary scoring is all we have again. And right now, outside of Brock Besser with the 2 in the first 2 games, Pettersson looking for his first. Jake DeBrusk looking for his first. Connor Garland and Evander Kane playing higher in the lineup. That's what this team has. Nils Höglander's not going to be around and available till closer to Christmas, so you can't think that, okay, give it time, he'll be back here soon. What you see is what you get, and it does ramp up the pressure on this management group then to go out and do what it claims it tried to do all summer and just couldn't find the right fit at the right price. Well, Jim Rutherford uttered the famous line there in April about it'd be costly not to go out and find a second-line center. The meter's running here. And, are they prepared to – they haven't been prepared to pay prices to this point. I don't know that you're going to see a big trade a week into the season. I'm just not sure that other teams are – maybe outside of Buffalo.
Don't start, Jeff.
Okay, well, no, but
I get it, but yeah.
I think it's too soon to find a trading partner.
100%.
Other teams want to see what they've got, and so it comes back to this sort of U.S. Thanksgiving artificial date, but it's 6 weeks into the season. It gives you a sense then around the 20-game mark of what teams are, where they are in the standings, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. And this management group has not been afraid to pull the trigger on a trade in years gone by, but hesitant over the offseason. And so we'll see if pressure ramps up here if this team continues to struggle to generate the offense necessary to win hockey games. Another super chat. This one comes from Free Petey again. All right. Do you think Foote mixing up the lines constantly for matchups maybe ruining the early season chemistry? Feels like nothing is connecting, and you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? Like, if guys aren't going, then if you're a coach, it's like, why would you bang your head against the wall and stick with them? But you've kept these lines in place through the preseason because you're trying to forge some chemistry. But again, preseason, roll it up in a ball and chuck it out the window. Teams are playing for keeps now, and it is different. And so far, the Canucks haven't measured up. So I don't think I blame coaches when they get the blender going.
You have to.
If things are working, they'd stick with them.
Exactly. And things aren't working, and you got to go through the blender. I think they should have gone through the blender a little bit more to try and figure out what is going to work instead of trial by fire and seeing if it's going to happen in the game. Do things in practice that are different. Have a look. Maybe put Evander with Elias Pettersson for an entire game or a whole period and see if that works. It's always, and it's funny, not just Adam Foote, but coaches always do this. And in markets around the National Hockey League, people talk about it so much. It's, you do it when you're down because things aren't working. Obviously, when they're working, you don't try and fix what's not broken.
Yeah.
But here, like you have to. You almost have to because nothing has worked this far. Like, you can't put Kiefer Sherwood on the top line. Can you? Like, who? Well, I think there goes all the way down.
But I think you could in a pinch right now, right? Like, if one guy is going, doesn't he deserve? Like, we talk about him as, he's a bottom six guy, but he scored 19 goals last year. Like, maybe he's better than we're giving him credit for, especially relative to what they've got to work with right now. If he's your one forward that's going, then play him. Yeah. Like, give him an opportunity. It shouldn't take a Kiefer Sherwood to jumpstart Elias Pettersson or Jake DeBrusk, but what do you have to lose at this point? Like, they did it last year. I think in short bursts, Kiefer Sherwood's energy can be contagious. He can get in on the forecheck, knock guys off the puck, get the puck to Pettersson or DeBrusk, if that's a line. I mean, it doesn't have to be those three together, but I think I'm ready. 3 games in, I think I'm ready for Kiefer Sherwood to get the promotion that he probably deserves based on the way that he has shown up and played here in these first 3 games. Justice coming with his second super chat of the night. So it's multiple super chat night here on Rink Wide.
Get in on it.
Yeah, hey, get in on the fun. Again, all of it in support of the BC Mental Health Foundation. Justice not a big fan of picking up Kane. Dumbest move we made. Could have kept Suter or even went and got a different center. Didn't need him, and it shows. Again, it's 3 games in. I don't think people were too upset when Evander Kane was steamrolling Edmonton Oilers the other night. We didn't see that.
Nope.
If he brings that element, that's an element that this hockey team sorely is lacking. There just isn't a lot of size, not a lot of snarl up front. But this is a guy that has been a 9-time 20-goal scorer in the National Hockey League. There's an expectation that he can and will generate some offense. Again, 3 games in, way too early to make sweeping generalizations. It hasn't been the most dynamic start for Evander Kane, but it hasn't been the most dynamic start for anybody save for 1 period of hockey against the Flames on opening night. So I'm not prepared to write off Evander Kane. I think there is a role for him on this hockey club. And, look, Pius Suter had a terrific season. Got the raise he was looking for. Didn't get a lot of term. Got a 2-year deal, just over $4 million. And the Canucks could absolutely use Pius Suter. Don't get me wrong here, but we're talking about a winger as opposed to a center. And I think this management group recognized that the forward group isn't the meanest, toughest bunch, and they wanted to add. And that's, I think, what appealed to them. About Evander Kane.
If the Canucks wanted to sign Pius Suter, they would have signed Pius Suter.
Yep.
And they just didn't want to. They weren't going to pay that money. And I think that was really what it came down to, and especially when it came to that. So good for him for going to get his money. The Canucks chose to move in a different direction. They went and got a winger to scoring winger, and I think that at some point you hope that Evander is going to be able to find the back of the net here. And I'm with you, Jeff. I'm not writing off the Evander Kane experience yet because, yes, you're right. After the Edmonton game, people are like, more of this. We need more of this. Mm-hmm. His physicality is going to come if he stays healthy, and the goals will come, you hope, at some point here. I really want to see him with Elias Pettersson. I think that having him on a line where Elias Pettersson can maybe feel a little bit confident that, he can do different things. Evander's going to, muck it up a little bit and not have to worry. I think that will maybe try and take something off of Elias Pettersson. But there's no one in the National Hockey League right now that has felt or is going to feel as much pressure as Elias Pettersson is going to feel if things don't go well for him in the next 2-3 weeks.
I'm curious. They're supposed to practice on Tuesday here in town, and then they're going to fly to Dallas on Wednesday. So they will get a practice in here, and I do wonder... do we start to see some different combinations? We did during the game. We talked about Linus Karlsson. Linus Karlsson by himself isn't the answer here. But sticking with the status quo and the way that they had rolled things out for the first couple of games, that wasn't working for them either. Is there a spot for Braden Coots? Is he still on this roster when we all wake up on Tuesday morning? We'll find those things out when they hit the practice ice at Rogers Arena. This segment of Rink Wide is brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. You can drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone. That's enough to get you from downtown to the rink and then to the grocery store and then home to recharge. Seamlessly transitions from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. Yeah, 962 kilometers loaded with tech that is actually easy to use. And now you can lease a 2025 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down, and it includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right, we raved about Thatcher Demko, his first 2 games. He can't play them all, and so not a surprise. We talked about this on Rink Wide on Saturday, and we both felt that this was going to be a Kevin Lankinen start. It was a Kevin Lankinen start. I'm not pinning the loss on Kevin Lankinen. He won't like giving up 4 goals, and it is hard to win in this league when your team is giving up 4. But look at the goals themselves. The Snuggerud one we talked about, off the rush, and then a rebound. He's left loose in front of the net. Shen from just out in front of the net, blasts one in the top corner. Snuggerud again after the Myers turnover on the power play. Bang, bang play there. And then they've credited the 4th goal to Nick Bjugstad. As I watched the replay, it looked like it was Nathan Walker off the rush, but I think it hits Bjugstad, who's kind of crashing the crease. Whatever the case, it goes into the books. It's Bjugstad, the veteran. He gets his first of the season. But again, not a whole lot that Kevin Lankinen could do on that one, and then he wasn't even in the net for the final goal of the night. So when you look at Kevin Lankinen's night, it wasn't spectacular. He didn't make a ton of huge saves for this hockey club. We know he can be better. I'm sure he feels he can be better as well. But to me, he is the least of their concerns on a night like tonight, and goaltending right now, the least of the Vancouver Canucks concerns.
Yeah, if there's one thing I'm not worried about, 2 things I'm not worried about in this hockey team, it's Quinn Hughes getting back to his normal self, and it's the goaltending for the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, Kevin Lankinen didn't get any help.
No.
Right? And I'm not going to blame him on any of the goals or say he looked out of place or out of position or anything of that nature. He just didn't get any help. There were breakdowns in front, and unfortunately, he was the last line of defense, and there was a lot of glorious opportunities. I mean, Braden Shen is not going to miss that shot very often from, where he scored from. Snuggerud to the side of the net. Not going to miss that. These are NHL players. But when you have breakdowns as you did so many times in front of you, unfortunately, as a goalie, you're going to be on the wrong end of pulling the puck out of the net a lot of the times.
When we look for positives on a night like tonight, we've talked about Kiefer Sherwood. I was glad to see Aatu Räty get an assist on the first goal. Archie Bains got an assist as well. So Bains has a couple of points, 2 games. This is a guy that came into the season with 1 NHL point. In 21 games, it was a goal. So he didn't have a helper to his name. He's got 2 of them 3 games in. And I know people still aren't sold on him playing higher in the lineup, but slotted there, that might be the right kind of spot for Archie Bains on a line with Räty. Sherwood and Bains can both skate well. It'll force Räty to get the wheels going and keep up. But you want Aatu Räty to have some success early on as well. And so I think important that even in a losing cause, at least, he finds the score sheet. It wasn't a banner night for him. He was dominant in the faceoff circle the other night. Tonight wins 5 of 12, so just a shade under 50%. but that's where I come back to, maybe that's your third line, and then Adam Foote and his coaching staff are going to have to figure out how you work around that. So, again, we'll monitor the way things go at practice on Tuesday morning at Rogers Arena. A little concerned at one point there, Kiefer Sherwood, who had the 2 goals, and then looked like he got nicked up a little bit. Prime, we haven't even talked about the broadcast yet, but they had an ISO cam of him taking a little spin, sort of shaking out whatever. He finished the game. So I hope for Kiefer Sherwood and for the Canucks, I hope he's fine, but was a little worried there that the one guy that is going or was going may not be able to make it through the night, but I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he'll definitely be fine. We're going to do this again on, was it Thursday night?
Yep.
Where do we define success now or positivity here over the next couple of days? Like, if we're sitting here talking about a loss like we are here tonight against the Dallas Stars, we're like, okay, Dallas is pretty good, but where do we need to look at it and say, okay, we're seeing signs of positivity here with this Canucks group?
Well, I'd love to see the power play get going.
Okay.
They can't go deep into this road trip without a power play goal. Again, I think they're going to have their hands full at 5-on-5 generating offense. So I think the power play has the potential to produce. I know you mentioned that you don't have any fears about Quinn Hughes, and I don't think I do either in the big picture. But I also don't want to get deep into this road trip saying that it's coming, he'll get there. They need him. They need him to be otherworldly, essentially. Even when other guys are going, they need Quinn Hughes. But right now, when others are struggling, he's one guy that has shown he can do it, and I believe in him certainly. 5 shots on goal, 9 attempts for Quinn Hughes in this hockey game, plays 26 minutes and 32 seconds, but he's on the ice for 3 of the St. Louis goals. Now, that included the empty netter as well, but still, I just don't. 3 games in, there have been moments, but there haven't been long stretches where your chin is just hitting the desk here, and he's making you, did I just see that? Like, for years, we've enjoyed that. We've been treated to that by Quinn Hughes. I don't think Quinn Hughes has been anywhere close to the top of his game through the first 3 here this season.
No, absolutely. And I agree with you, for sure. We want him to take over games. We said so much of, what we wanted from Elias Pettersson and him to be able to take the team into the fight on a night and do that. And now we're through 3 games, and, I know they won the first one, but Quinn wasn't, instrumental in that win. He picks up his, franchise-leading assist against Edmonton. Not very instrumental in that one. And here tonight, again, it was another quiet night for Quinn Hughes. So on a night where, everyone deserves what they're getting here, Quinn Hughes isn't, skipping anything from, being a player that we need to talk about as well to elevate his game like we know he can.
Yeah, and he understands
of
all
course.
of that.
If anyone, he understands it the best.
Exactly. So, but we also saw him, smash a stick after the empty netter the other night, game 2, and there was a little bit of frustration that we generally don't see from Quinn Hughes. But remember the quote to Ian McIntyre just at a training camp too, where he said, we know that this isn't the most skilled team in the National Hockey League, and here 3 games in, that's sort of coming home to roost. And so he's not wrong when he says that. But that means that they then have to go and find other ways to win, and whether that's outstanding goaltending performances and eking out enough offense to get the job done. Every win counts the same. If it's 3-2 or 8-2, I don't think there's going to be a lot of 8s put on the scoreboard by the Vancouver Canucks.
No.
So they're going to have to become masters of winning the 2-1, 3-2 type hockey games, and so far that just hasn't been the case. They lost 3-1 with the empty netter, but essentially a 2-1 hockey game the other night to the Edmonton Oilers. And it doesn't get a whole lot easier now as you go into Dallas. And it's not just Dallas. I mean, that's all they can focus on they can just focus on the next day of practice. But road trip starts in Dallas. That's going to be difficult. They had that ridiculous comeback in Dallas the last time they were there. So if they're down, don't go away, because they scored 3 in the final minute to force overtime and then won it in OT last year, just a comeback for the ages. But it starts with Dallas, and then 24 hours later, you're in Chicago, and look on a map, those cities aren't all that close. That's a lot of travel to get from Dallas to Chicago to be ready to play the following night. So back-to-backs are never easy. First back-to-back for the Canucks of the young season, and then into Washington for an early start on Sunday. So just logistically, the road trip is a beast to start. finishes in Pittsburgh and Nashville. Neither one of those teams expected to be Stanley Cup contenders, so a little bit easier on the back end. There are winnable games on this road trip.
Oh, I mean,
but it's one thing to say it. They got to go out there and prove it.
And I think at this point, it's not even talking about winnable games, Jeff. It's just about finding consistency in your offense. Out shooting the other team, out hustling the other team, out gritting the other team, out anything the other team in order to try and get that victory. And offense is going to be the number one key. Defense and your goaltenders are going to be good. You're going to see a ridiculous matchup probably against Dallas with Thatcher Demko and Jake Ottinger, two guys that are going to be vying for Team USA spots at the Olympics. And it's going to be another measuring stick game for the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, look, against the Dallas Stars or against the Pittsburgh Penguins, where the Canucks currently are at is still, you no matter what the opponent is, you still can't take anybody lightly.
All right, let's get inside the Canuck locker room. We will hear from the goal scorer, or two-goal scorer for the Vancouver Canucks. Kiefer Sherwood up to 3 now on the season, so a nice start for him in a contract year, but he won't be happy about the end result in this one. Kiefer Sherwood after a 5-2 loss to the St. Louis Blues.
I think we got to be ready from the puck drop. It's probably a constant theme here, and I think it starts with our just same structure in our systems, and from there just executing our passes. When we don't execute, then we're chasing, and then we lose possession, and we got to work twice as hard to get it back. So, we know they're a rush team, and we just we gave them too many looks tonight.
You're a guy that has a high work rate. That tends to lead to a lot of your offense. Is there enough of that in the room?
Yeah, I mean it's just we have a good group here. It's obviously not the ideal start, but it'll prove our character. We have a lot of good leaders in here and a lot of world-class talent. So we just got to put our head down and work and be ready from puck drop and have a full 60 minutes.
Why is your line so good tonight?
We're just playing simple, just getting on the forecheck, getting sticks back, stick on puck, and then from there just creating turnovers and then allows the plays to kind of open up. But it's just generating possession on the forecheck.
Where were the breakouts such a problem tonight? I know that teams tend to clock the neutral zone, but it's got to be more than that.
I don't know. That's I'm sure we'll work on that, but we have a big road trip coming up here, so we got to just buckle down and get back to work.
This practice, the coach talked about it this morning. Practice time there is no practice time in that schedule. Is that a problem?
Everyone has the same schedule, so it's no excuse, right? Like we gotta buckle in and just put our work boots on and get after it.
How frustrating is it a couple of times you guys as a group get a goal to battle back within one and they seem to answer pretty quick, and how important is it to continue that momentum after you get a goal when you're chasing a game?
Yeah, I mean the game's a game of momentum and energy shifts, and we got to value that a shift after a couple shifts after a goal is important for both sides, whether it's against or for, and we're getting really good efforts from our goaltending, so we owe it to them to kind of be better defensively, and then the rest will take care of itself.
All right, there you go, Kiefer Sherwood. And somebody in the chat here, MD, saying Sherwood played great with PD last year. He's more talented than people give him credit for, and I think that part is true. And again, in the absence of others stepping up, what do you have to lose? Put a spark plug on that line, see what happens, and if PD regains his offensive flair, then Kiefer Sherwood's got enough scoring touch that he can pull the trigger. And so we'll see if that's the direction that they lean here starting at practice, or maybe warm up on Thursday down in Dallas. But the last question to Kiefer Sherwood about practice time, we said game Thursday, game Friday, game Sunday. Well, Saturday will be a day off after back-to-backs. I mean, that's just standard in pro sports. And after 3 and 4 as well.
And it's an afternoon game.
I would think Monday
Sunday.
Likely to be an off day for the Vancouver Canucks out on the road, and then they play in Pittsburgh. I think right now the only practice day they've got on this road trip is before the Nashville game at the tail end, so that's a week from now. So that's why practice time is limited in this condensed schedule. So my guess is that they will use their practice time wisely at the Raj tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of film too. Like when they're not on the ice or practicing, there's a lot of film where guys on iPads, guys getting stuff sent to their phones of things to look at and all of that, and to go over film and break down other teams' games and things like that. But you look at what Kiefer Sherwood, I mean, him just standing, that's a hockey player. He just the way that he answers the questions, forecheck, getting in, feeling good, get lines going, this, that, and the other. But you're right, Jeff. I mean, the listener was right, definitely. If Sherwood and PD did have some sort of chemistry at any point last season, and he is your only forward going, and Elias Pettersson is the most important forward you need to get going, then why not?
What are we doing here? Talking 3 games in, and we're talking about Kiefer Sherwood needing to, fire the whole team up. But
Dude's got 3 goals.
But I thought his first answer was probably the most telling there, where he said, be ready from the drop of the puck. We've already spent a fair bit of this program talking about these slow starts for the Vancouver Canucks and what's it going to take, whether it's Kiefer Sherwood throwing a big hit and getting people into it, getting his teammates into it. All these guys, they're pros. They've got to show up and be ready and be a whole lot better than they've been to this point, because what's working for them through the first 40 minutes of these hockey games so far, that ain't it. There's got to be more to give for this group. Want to remind you, if you don't already, to make sure that you subscribe to the Rink Wide YouTube channel. To this point, Rink Wide's always been your go-to post-game live stream, and we hope that it will continue to be, or maybe you consume it in podcast fashion. But this season, we're branching out. We're going to post far more practice and game day content from the rink. We already had a practice report up from last Friday before the Canucks jetted off to Edmonton. So you get videos, you get some player scrums, tell you a little bit about what they've been working on at these practices that we were talking about. Hit the subscribe button, set your notifications so that you do not miss a thing. Again, talking about the Rink Wide YouTube channel.
Yes.
All right, 5-game roadie for the Vancouver Canucks. I think it's 9 of the first 14 that are out on the road, so they're going to have to get used to living out of a suitcase here. At the end of the season, it all comes out in the wash, 41 at home, 41 on the road. They were a pretty good road team last year. They're 0-1 after the loss in Edmonton, so 1 down, 40 to go. Can they channel the good stuff from last year and be a good road team again, but then add that other layer of figuring out on home ice? Not the start there, not the result they were looking for here against St. Louis to fall to 1-1 at home. But I do think, if there's one thing that should sort of float their boat a little bit, you got to think that Thatcher Demko gets back between the pipes on Thursday to start the road trip. And we have seen now in his 2 starts that when he's in there, they absolutely have a chance.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he's their X factor. He's the guy that, we've seen it so much. People don't need to know the explanation of how many nights have we watched hockey games of the Vancouver Canucks walk out of a game winning 2-1 or 1-0, and Thatcher Demko's got 40 saves.
Yeah.
Right? And I just think that that's something that we thought organizationally they have been trying to work around and get past to get them that help offensively, to get guys that are able to put the puck in the net, to get defensemen that are able to not, let other teams get scored on, and it can be more of a team, and it's not just relying on one guy. But if we're going to get excited about Thatcher Demko, I mean, I'm all here for it. The guy hasn't played a lot in the last couple of seasons, so any chance to get to see, one of the best goaltenders in the league, 2 of the best goaltenders in the league going head-to-head should be fun.
All right, you like to ask me questions? I'll finish up here with one for you.
Yes.
The Canucks jet will be departing on Wednesday for Dallas, Texas. Will Braden Coots have a seat on that flight?
Yes. I think he will.
Just because they're too thin now?
Yeah, just because they're too thin right now.
Fair enough.
I think he will.
Fair enough.
You don't think he will?
I honestly don't know. I think I'm ready to end the experiment, but because I don't know Teddy Blueger's, he's sort of the X factor in this.
Well, will Blueger be on the plane? I think that's if Blueger's not on the plane, then Coots definitely is.
Right, and we'll find that out at practice. And if Teddy Blueger's not ready to go, then that's a little more concerning, because not that Teddy Blueger's the answer, but we were told a week essentially, and if it's more than that, then no practice time. He's a veteran. You could throw him in there, but that's a tough assignment, too, for a guy that has been out to jump right back in. I mean, maybe it's a morning skate out of it. But anyways, lots of moving parts for the Vancouver Canucks. Never dull around this hockey club. And it's just 1 and 2. 2 and 1 would have been a whole lot better, obviously, but they weren't good enough. Give St. Louis credit. The Blues got smoked on home ice by Minnesota on opening night, and they've responded with a couple of wins. So, they've had the bounce back. Now it's in the Canucks court here, and they've got to bounce back, and they have to do it down in the Lone Star State on Thursday. Irf and I will be back then, and then throughout the road trip as well. It's a 5-game roadie, so won't see the Canucks back at home for the better part of 10 days. Kiefer Sherwood with both Canuck goals. That makes it easy to wrap up the Canuck goal scoring as we summarize on the night 5-2 Blues over the Vancouver Canucks. Again, hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Save us a little bit of pumpkin pie, if you will. For Jacob Lazar, working the holiday Thanksgiving behind the scenes. For Irf, I'm Jeff. Thanks so much for checking out this episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.